Holy shit! Reunited and it feels so good. So we are on my way home from Alligator Alley Harley, back on my 2021 Ultra Limited. Not only does it have a clutch now, but my Rockford Fosgate Stage 2 blah 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 stereo is installed, and it's pretty glorious, I gotta say. Trying to lead my wife from behind, which is always an adventure. Took a little longer than I thought, and one thing I will confirm, because there's a lot of theories out there, but not as many people have the stereo installed. One thing I'll tell you, it sounds friggin' amazing, but one thing that it does do, we went the wrong way, that's great, is it does put an amp in your backpack. I had been told, and even the dealer had thought, that you use what was called the primary amp in the fairing, and that would power the fairing speakers and the lower speakers. That's what I have, is I have Stage 2 speakers, 4 of them, 2 in the fairing, 2 in the lowers. And evidently, that is not true. The fairing amp, Rockford Fosgate, blah, 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 Stage 2 fairing amp, called the primary amp, is only good for the fairing speakers and I believe your tour pack speakers. So like your factory speaker arrangement. Anytime you add lowers or bag lid speakers, I believe, is when they have to go to the secondary amp, which goes in the bag. So it is what it is. But yeah, so so there's now a friggin' amplifier in my bag again, which I did not want. But at least I don't have speakers in the lids. I said a long time ago that I don't like having speakers in my bag lids because it takes away bag space, and it's just a, you know, a pain in the ass, and I don't want it. So again, 4 speakers. I got 2 in the fairing and 2 in the lowers, and that's it. And it sounds real good. Of course, I can't show you because the man will ding me for listening to music, God forbid. What they ended up doing was taking a clutch cable from an inventory bike. So that's a thing. So just if this is your first time at the channel, welcome. Thanks a bunch. Make sure you're a subscriber and all that stuff. But the debacle that had happened was, what happened was, as they say in South Florida, I was going to have these 14-inch KST bars put on as part of the deal, you know. I've installed apes myself a bunch of times, and I really don't like doing it. So I didn't want to do it again. And so these KSTs were in the deal. So what happened was I put on my S&S 2-into-1 Sidewinder pipe on it, and that melted the adjuster. So when they went to put the bars on, you only change the top half of the cable. You leave the stock original bottom half and you put the extended top half on. Well, because the adjuster was melted, they couldn't take the 2 parts apart, so they had to replace the bottom half. Which evidently Harley forgot to make those, so there's none in the world to be gotten. And they guarantee that they would ship one on April 23rd, and a couple insiders said that is a BS promise. They will not make that schedule. You're not going to have a cable, blah 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 blah, probably until June. So I threw a tantrum, and that really didn't get anywhere. Service manager, and I understand why. They only had so many 21s in stock, and to take a bike out of inventory is a very hard thing to do when inventories are really short. And so I threw a tantrum, and they didn't care. And then I was up here for an event for the organization that shall not be named that I'm a part of, and my salesman walked by, who's a good dude, and he says, "How's the bike?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. It's been here for 2 months." And he was like, "No way, that can't happen." You know, blah, blah, blah. Now, just the good thing is that my salesman has worked at that dealership for more than 10 years, is their top guy, and has a ton of clout. and he went back and said, take a damn cable off an inventory bike. If it goes bad, you know, come down on me on it. And so they did. They grabbed a bike out of inventory, they took the bottom cable off, and that is now on my bike. So I just, you know, honestly from the beginning should have gone at the salesman, but I didn't, because I didn't realize that he has as much pull as he does. So anyway, thanks to Corky at Alligator Alley for making the final difference to get this done. So we're friends again. We're all gonna hug over it and all that stuff later. So yeah, that's the story. I'm back on my bike. I've got my SNS 2-in-1 on it. I got my stereo installed, and I got my 14-inch KSD bars. So I'm ready to do all the stuff that I am going to be doing to the bike at home, building up in the garage, which is quite a bit of stuff backing up on me to go on this thing. So I plan on doing a video, if not daily, then every other day for the next several days, to show some of the cool stuff that I got for the bike. I've said a million times, I don't do Patreons and memberships. I'm never going to ask you for money, you know, to watch these videos. These videos are for everyone. But if a company that has something that I want already wants to give me that thing to do a video on it, then hell yeah, I'm going to do it. But again, it's always going to be something I want, and if I don't like that thing, you know, I kind of how to say that, you know, I always got to be honest. So I promise you that. So low fuel, wonderful. Let me go ahead and find a gas station on the way home. But I don't know if that's the end of this video or not, but me and my bike are reunited. I'm on my way home, and Johnny Cash is rolling again. Thanks to y'all that watch the channel. But either you'll see the vroom vroom because the video's over, maybe I'll do a little more when I get home. It just depends on how things work out. But for now, see ya. Whew! We're home. I'm a happy camper for a lot of reasons, but there's a lot of work to be done. So we got this one, we got that one, and then we got that one. Ah! I'm just tickled to death. So I'm so happy. You got to wonder, I'm here in the garage by myself. Do I have pants on? Maybe, maybe not. You don't know. You won't know what's going on from the waist down. You don't need to. Don't get excited. Or get excited. Maybe get excited. All right, so there's a couple things. Along with, I don't even remember what I said, you know, when I was on the way home. Initial verdict on the stereo. Holy crap. Is loud. Like, I'm rolling 75, 80 on the way home, listening to a little Skinnerd, and I had to turn it down. It's really friggin' loud. So, you know, and I was wearing my full face too, if that tells you anything. That's how loud this sucker is. So I've got stage 2 down there and right there, and then the amp unfortunately is in the bag. I can't remember if I said that or not. I really was hoping it would be in the fairing, but evidently when you add these, you have to go to the bag, which is fine though, because evidently that's a bigger amp. I don't know. This system's complicated. I use the app already. There's an app you use to tune it, and it's nice and good and loud. So I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with the stereo because I'm going to hear it just fine. And also when I turned it down to where it was just the right volume, the sound quality was really good. You know, it wasn't just about making it loud enough to hear, but when you can hear it, does it sound good? It sounds really good. Does it have a bunch of bass? No. It's not like I'm looking to thump going on the road, but you can't hear bass outside. You know, you're always going to get a lot of mids and highs. And no offense if you're the dude who likes to park in a parking lot and turn your stereo up real loud. Ain't me. I just like to listen to mine when I'm rolling on the road. And one of my favorite buttons on that stereo is the off button, because I don't want to hear it sometimes. I just want quiet. Verdict that I will hard stop on this is this CBO has, of course, what is it, the Boom 2, right? From the factory. This came with their highest end stereo, 4-speaker bags, and then up here, and then it's got an amp in the fairing and in the bag. So there's an amp back here for this thing there. So this stereo isn't half as loud. So if you got an older CBO out there, last generation like this one, if you're curious, I can tell you that, first off, I know I can't hear these.
going on the road. I can't hear them at all. I put my hands on them sometimes to go, are they working? You know, can't hear them at all. And those two, maybe it's a road glide thing, the fairing's so much further away. I don't know, there's a million different things that could do it, but that stereo isn't anywhere near as loud as this one now. So, you know, if you were curious, the difference, there you go. My bars, these are 14-inch KSTs, which is part of the thing that caused me the whole problem with the cable, because at 12 you can use stock, but at 14 you can't. Because of the batwing fairing, because the bars come back before they go up, unlike the Road Glide, which are pretty much in line with the, like my direction there. These feel a lot taller, even though they're both 14-inch bars, because these are so much closer. So I really like that. I like the riding position on this thing a lot. Another thing, further thought, we've talked about batwing versus shark nose, i.e. batwing fairing, shark nose fairing, if you don't already know. A lot more wind protection on the batwing. I'll go ahead and say that on the way home. I was sitting there thinking, again, rolling 80, that I'm getting less wind on me as I've been back on the CVO the last couple of weeks. So the exact 8 weeks to be exact. So that I will definitely say the batwing does give you better wind protection, just because the fairing's closer. Other thoughts that are kind of funny. This bike didn't come home perfect, and it's not Alligator Alley's fault. It's a couple issues. So I called my dude today that I'm pals with, and I am a fan of him personally. Patrick's my service advisor up there at Alligator Alley, and I like Patrick a lot. He's a good dude. Makes me laugh at least once every time I talk to him. And I said, hey, we got to figure out the intake. And he goes, why? And I go, because the heavy breather on that bike's not going to work with that speaker. And he goes, it ain't? And then 5 minutes later he goes, hey, you know the intake's not going to work with that speaker. Because the... Here you're going on YouTube like this. Jeez. I'm not cutting it out. So, what I was telling him with the intake, normally, you can see there's something missing right there. The intake comes forward and it, you know, is only that far away from there. So I knew that wasn't going to fit. So I actually meant to bring my S&S teardrop with me and put it on the parking lot, and I forgot it in the truck. So I actually had to ride this bike home. Don't kill me. I had to ride this bike home with no air filter. I had to ride her home like that. I just kept my leg real close, trying to keep her protected, and rode her home 60 miles like that. So I've got my intake to go on there now to solve that issue, but that was, I just felt guilty. Thank God it didn't rain. You know, that would have been, you know, nerve-wracking. The other thing that ain't right on this bike, and I got to still figure out, again, now I got Alley's fault, there's an exhaust situation where...
Yeah, we're exhausted, all right.
That too. This 2-into-1 Sidewinder I bought, S&S said it was for a 21, and then learned after the fact that it is, in fact, not. The pipe is. The pipe is just fine. They didn't change it. But you see there's something missing right there? Just yeah, there's supposed to be a bracket. It comes off, wraps around the pipe, and then bolts to the side of the motor there, transmission there, and keep everything kind of settled. The bracket's fine. The other bracket that mounts that bracket to the motor is intended for a hydraulic clutch cable, which has a different path. So essentially, the bracket that goes right there hits the clutch cable. As you can see how close they are. And it will damage the clutch cable, cut it, and you all know there's fluid in there, and it will leak and cause many a problem. So I got to figure that out. I called S&S. They're aware of the issue. It's a known issue, as people say in the motorcycle industry. And they're going to send me a new bracket whenever said bracket is designed, but that doesn't exist yet, excuse me. So what I'm going to do, and this was an idea from them, a couple of places I've read it, is I'm going to take the stock bracket and see if I can't make that work tomorrow. I got to bend it a little bit and make the stocker just to give it some support, because right now the only thing holding my pipe on are the 4 flange nuts, bam, bam, and then the hanger in the back where the muffler's hanging from. So obviously it needs some more support right there. So I gotta figure that out, and I think that's something I'll do tomorrow. I'm also going to be removing these speaker pods because they're dead now. So in case you were curious about that, No, you can't just go, I'm just going to add these and leave those. And no, it doesn't work that way. You got to go all in. Me and the old man were talking about this on his trike, and he was blown away when I told him, no, you can't just add lower speakers and your lower fairings. You got to go all in. So I chose to go this way. And these are now useless, so I'm going to take them off. I'm just going to clean that up anyway. And yeah, so tomorrow I'll throw on the intake. I'll try and figure out that bracket situation on the exhaust. And there's a pile of stuff. I mean, a friggin' pile. I have new headlights and passing lamps and all kinds of stuff for this thing. A bunch of stuff from Custom Dynamics. We're going to convert the tour pack to quick release, but I'm not going to do all that tomorrow because tomorrow night, shameless plugs, at 8 p.m. I'm on Baggers and Brews. We're just going to be inappropriate. So 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, check Baggers and Brews channel. I'll put a link down below. And then Friday night, me and Mrs. Monkey, who is currently putting her feet on the fairing of the CVO.
On my CVO. My CVO.
I cannot believe you put your feet on a motorcycle.
Reunited, but it feels so good.
Anyway, so tomorrow night's Baggers and Brews at 8 o'clock.
Baggers and Brews.
Anything else you want to?
No, my baby.
You get to have your bike now, yeah.
I know.
So, she's as happy as I am that the Ultra's home. So tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Baggers and Brews. Friday night, 8 o'clock is just us, maybe from out here if it doesn't feel too hot. We're trying to figure out if we want to try and do it from here Friday night. Or it's already feeling warm right now, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So we might be inside, you know, because it's awful hot to sit there for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Especially
You're
when
hot. You're hot, Mr.
She's
Bucky.
wound up tonight, let me tell you. So, thanks to everyone who's been following this adventure. Again, I'll say, if you're new to the channel, be subscribed. Be subscribed. I'm never going to ask you for money. I'm never going to ask you to give me a monthly payment. Just subscribe. Be subscribed and watch the videos. That's all we ask from you. Well, you want to play? Oh, now she wants to play with stereo. Oh, wait. She might be like, this one's not as good. Don't turn music on. It'll demonetize the video. Goofball. Oh, wrong control. Wrong control. All right. So, take care of each other out there. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Anticlimactic.